The security guard had one hand on Daniel's shoulder when his little daughter suddenly screamed, "Daddy, please. Don't let them take you away." Daniel Mercer froze. Across the polished lobby, dozens of employees watched in silence as the woman behind the reception desk pointed toward the glass doors. "I already told you," she snapped. "You can't stay here. Take your child and leave." Daniel looked at her, stunned. He had spent the last 6 years building the company she worked for from the outside, studying its failures, protecting its future, and quietly preparing to take control of it. But she didn't know any of that. To her, he was just another poorly dressed single father who had walked into the wrong building. Daniel took his daughter's hand and whispered, "It's okay, Emma. We're leaving." Then the elevator doors opened. A man in an expensive suit stepped out, saw Daniel, and immediately stopped. "Mr. Mercer?" The entire lobby went silent. Daniel looked up. "Yes?" The man swallowed. "Sir, we've been waiting for you. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes. You're the new CEO." The woman at reception went completely pale. Her name was Rachel Collins, and just moments earlier, she had kicked her new boss out. Daniel didn't smile. He simply looked at Rachel and said, "I think we need to talk." 3 hours earlier, Daniel had been standing outside the same building with Emma, holding her backpack while she complained about the rain. "Daddy, are we really going to your new office?" Daniel smiled. "Maybe. Will you have a big desk?" "I hope so." "Will I get to see it?" "If you behave." Emma grinned. "I always behave." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Almost always." He laughed. For Daniel, that morning was supposed to be the beginning of a new life. After years of working long hours, missing birthdays, and taking whatever jobs he could find, he had finally received an opportunity he never expected. His father had recently passed away, leaving Daniel control of a private investment company. Daniel had spent months reviewing its holdings and discovered that his father had quietly purchased a controlling interest in a struggling technology company called Harrington Solutions. The board had chosen Daniel as the new CEO. But Daniel had made one decision before taking the position. He wanted to see the company as an ordinary person first. No assistants. No announcement. No expensive suit. Just Daniel, his daughter, and the truth. So he wore an old gray jacket, carried Emma's backpack, and walked into the lobby. Rachel looked up from her computer. "Can I help you?" Daniel smiled politely. "I'm here for the executive floor." "Do you have an appointment?" "Yes." "With whom?" Daniel hesitated. "The board." Rachel glanced at his clothes, then at Emma. Her expression changed. "Sir, this isn't a public building." "I understand. You need to leave." Daniel tried to explain. "I'm actually expected upstairs." Rachel sighed loudly. "Look, I don't have time for this. We have an important meeting today." Daniel frowned. "So do I." Rachel stood. "Listen, Mr. Mercer." She typed his name into the system. Nothing appeared. Daniel's appointment had been deliberately kept confidential. Rachel folded her arms. "I don't know who told you that you could walk in here, but you're not going upstairs." Emma tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Daddy, can we just go?" Daniel looked at his daughter. "Sure." But before he could turn around, Rachel called security. "Please escort him outside." Daniel stared at her. "You're really doing this?" Rachel nodded. "Yes." The guard approached. Daniel didn't fight. He didn't argue. He simply took Emma's hand and walked toward the doors. Then Emma dropped her backpack. "Daddy." Daniel bent down to pick it up. That was when the elevator opened. And everything changed. The man who stepped out was Michael Grant, the chairman of the board. He recognized Daniel immediately. "Mr. Mercer?" Daniel turned. Michael rushed toward him. "Sir, we've been looking everywhere. The board is already assembled." Daniel nodded. "Thank you, Michael." Michael looked confused. Then he noticed the security guard. "What's happening?" Nobody answered. Rachel's face had gone white. Michael looked at her. "Rachel?" She stammered, I thought he was trespassing." Michael stared at her. "This is Daniel Mercer." Rachel swallowed. Michael continued. "Your new CEO." Silence filled the lobby. Emma looked up at her father. "Daddy, does that mean this is your big desk?" Daniel almost laughed. "Yes, sweetheart." Rachel looked horrified. "I didn't know." Daniel turned toward her. "I know. I'm sorry. I believe you." Rachel's eyes filled with embarrassment. "I thought. I know what you thought." Daniel wasn't angry. That somehow made it worse. He walked toward the elevator with Emma. Rachel followed. "Mr. Mercer, please. I made a mistake." Daniel stopped. He looked back. "Everyone makes mistakes." Rachel exhaled. "But mistakes have consequences." Then he entered the elevator. For the next several weeks, Daniel surprised everyone. He didn't fire Rachel. He didn't humiliate her. Instead, he watched. He discovered that Rachel was actually one of the hardest-working employees in the building. She often stayed late, helped new employees, and had recently reported suspicious financial activity to management. Then Daniel found something disturbing. Someone inside the company had been stealing money. Millions of dollars. The accounting records had been altered. And the person responsible had carefully arranged things so that Rachel looked guilty. Daniel called her into his office. "Sit down." Rachel looked nervous. "Am I being fired?" "No." Daniel pushed a folder across the desk. "I think someone is setting you up." Rachel stared at the documents. "What?" Daniel explained everything. Rachel's hands began to shake. "But why me?" "Because you found the first irregularity." Rachel remembered. 3 months ago, I reported missing funds." Daniel nodded. "That's why they want you blamed." The investigation led them to Daniel's own chief financial officer, a man named Thomas Reed. Thomas had been stealing money through fake vendors and had planned to leave the company before anyone noticed. But Rachel's report had almost exposed him. Thomas had framed her. Daniel and Rachel worked together to gather evidence. Finally, during a board meeting, Daniel confronted Thomas. Thomas denied everything. Until Daniel played the recording. Thomas had unknowingly admitted everything during a private conversation with an investigator. The room fell silent. Security escorted Thomas away. Afterward, Rachel stood alone in the hallway. Daniel approached her. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "I keep thinking about that first day." Daniel smiled faintly. "So do I. I was horrible to you. You were wrong about me." Rachel looked down. "Yes." Daniel paused. "But you weren't wrong to protect the building." Rachel looked up. Daniel continued. "You saw a stranger carrying a child and thought something was wrong. Your mistake was judging him before knowing his story." Rachel smiled sadly. "I deserve to be fired." "Maybe." She looked surprised. "But you also deserved a chance to learn from it." Rachel nodded. Months later, Rachel became Daniel's executive assistant. Not because she was afraid of him. Because she respected him. And Daniel trusted her. One afternoon, Emma came running into the office. "Daddy!" Daniel opened his arms. She jumped into them. Rachel watched them and smiled. Daniel looked at her. "Everything okay?" Rachel nodded. "Everything's perfect." Emma whispered loudly, "Rachel is nice now." Rachel laughed. "I was always nice." Emma shook her head. "No. You kicked Daddy out." Daniel burst out laughing. Rachel covered her face. "Please don't remind me." Daniel hugged his daughter tighter. Then he looked through the office window at the city below. He had learned something important. Sometimes people judge you by what they see. Sometimes they decide your worth before hearing your story. But one bad moment doesn't have to define a person. What matters is what you do after you realize you were wrong. Rachel had made a terrible first impression. But she chose to change. And Daniel chose to forgive. Years later, Emma would tell people about the day her father became CEO. She never remembered the board meeting. She never remembered the financial scandal. She only remembered one thing. The woman at the front desk who once kicked her father outside eventually became one of his closest friends. And whenever someone asked Daniel how he became successful, he always gave the same answer. Success isn't about making sure you never get judged. It's about staying kind enough to keep going when people do. And sometimes, the person who misunderstands you today may become the person standing beside you tomorrow. Call to action. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more emotional and inspiring stories. AI-generated content disclaimer. This video uses AI-generated storytelling, narration, and/or visuals. The story and characters are fictional and created for entertainment purposes only. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental.